Have you ever noticed what happens the moment someone says the word apocalypse? Almost instantly the mind jumps to images of chaos, destruction, collapsing civilizations, and the end of the world. For centuries, that single word has carried the weight of fear. But what if we have been looking in the wrong direction all along? What if the greatest apocalypse is not waiting somewhere in the future? What if it quietly begins the moment we stop believing the story we have been telling ourselves about who we are? The chapter titled Apocalypse from the book A Cosmic Message invites us to consider a completely different possibility. Instead of pointing toward an external catastrophe, it points inward. It suggests that the true revelation is not the destruction of the world, but the collapse of the illusions that have shaped our identity for most of our lives. Imagine an ancient city surrounded by enormous stone walls. Generation after generation was born inside those walls. Children grew up believing the walls existed to protect them. Parents repeated the same stories they had inherited from their own parents. No one questioned them. No one asked who had built them. Eventually, the walls became invisible, not because they disappeared, but because everyone accepted them as part of reality. Then one day, a traveler arrived. He looked at the walls for a long moment and asked a simple question. Who built them? Silence. No one knew. They had spent their entire lives believing in something they had never examined. Perhaps the human mind works in exactly the same way. Many of the beliefs we carry were never consciously chosen. They were inherited. We absorbed them from our family, our culture, our education, our fears, and our experiences. Over time, they stopped feeling like beliefs and started feeling like facts. We stopped asking whether they were true. We simply lived inside them. The chapter proposes a radical idea. Perhaps the apocalypse begins the moment those invisible walls start to crack. Not because something terrible is happening, but because something false can no longer survive. Think about an old building that has stood for hundreds of years. Its exterior is beautiful. Fresh paint covers the walls. New windows reflect the sunlight. Visitors admire its appearance. But deep inside, the foundation has been weakening for decades. At some point, another coat of paint is no longer enough. The structure itself must be rebuilt. To someone standing outside, it looks like destruction. To the architect, it is the beginning of restoration. How often do we treat our own lives the same way? We change jobs. We move to another city. We enter new relationships. We buy new things. We consume more information. We chase another achievement. Yet somehow the same emotional patterns keep returning. Different scenery, the same inner landscape. Because the surface changed, the foundation did not. One of the deepest fears human beings experience is not the fear of failure. It is the fear of losing the identity they have spent years constructing. Even if that identity is built on pain, even if it keeps them trapped, at least it feels familiar. The unknown asks for something much more difficult. It asks us to let go of certainty. Many ancient traditions describe this process as a symbolic death. Not the death of the body, the death of illusion, the death of the false self. The death of every story that separated us from what we truly are. This chapter also explores another fascinating idea. It suggests that humanity constantly feeds invisible psychological structures through repetitive thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. The more unconsciously we repeat them, the stronger they become. Eventually, they begin shaping entire societies without anyone noticing. Perhaps that sounds abstract, but look at ordinary life. How many people automatically believe they are not enough? How many wake up every morning already expecting disappointment? How many silently carry the belief that happiness belongs to someone else? How many inherited fear without realizing it? Imagine a child who hears the same sentence every day. You will never succeed. At first, the child resists. Then the child begins to wonder. Eventually, the child believes. Years later, the adult no longer remembers where that belief came from. It simply feels like reality. The thought became identity. Perhaps many of the prisons we experience were never locked from the outside. Perhaps they were built one repeated thought at a time, one repeated fear, one repeated story, one repeated conclusion, until questioning them no longer seemed possible. Now imagine something different. A man spends 30 years inside a prison cell. Every morning he wakes up and follows exactly the same routine. One morning he discovers that the prison door is already open. No one unlocks it. No dramatic rescue arrives. The door has simply been open, yet he remains sitting exactly where he has always been. Not because he cannot leave, but because he no longer believes freedom is possible. That image may be one of the most powerful metaphors for the human condition. The strongest prison is rarely built from iron. It is built from unquestioned assumptions. This realization is uncomfortable. Because if our prison exists only outside of us, then someone else can rescue us. But if part of that prison exists within our own consciousness, then responsibility quietly returns to where it has always belonged, to ourselves. This is where the real apocalypse begins. Not with fire falling from the sky, not with the collapse of civilizations, but with the collapse of illusion. With the moment we stop identifying with every thought that passes through our mind. With the moment we begin observing instead of automatically believing. Awakening rarely feels comfortable. When light enters a dark room, it reveals everything that had been hidden. The dust, the forgotten corners, the things we would rather not see. Yet without light, nothing can truly change. Perhaps this is why so many people mistake awakening for crisis. Their old identity is dissolving. Their certainty is disappearing. Their familiar explanations no longer satisfy them. From the outside, it looks like confusion. From the inside, something extraordinary is taking place. A new way of seeing is quietly being born. The old self resists because it believes survival depends on remaining the same. But life has never asked us to remain the same. Life has always invited us to grow. And growth almost always begins where certainty ends. Maybe what feels like everything falling apart is actually everything false falling away. Maybe what feels like loss is creating space for truth. Maybe what you call a crisis is not the end of your journey. Maybe it is the first honest step into it. Perhaps the apocalypse was never meant to frighten humanity. Perhaps it was always meant to awaken it, not by destroying the world, but by revealing the invisible walls we have mistaken for reality. Because every genuine transformation begins the same way. Not with finding new answers, but with having the courage to question the old ones. And perhaps the most important question you will ever ask is not about the future of the world. It is about the story you have believed your entire life. Who are you when the illusion finally falls away?